So now we are in chapter 4, transcendental knowledge. So this knowledge is transcendental. So means so the higher truth, absolute truth. That's what we are going to discuss. So we already covered some verses. I believe we are going to verse number 9. So far in this chapter, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he is telling Arjuna that this Bhagavad Gita is not just spoken now, but it has been spoken already. I've spoken to this to sun god. So again, in Vedic literature it is said every resources that we have, whether it's earth or sun or moon or mountains, water, everything is taken care of by a particular demigod, it says, or a particular power, some personality is taking care of that particular department. So whether the power, as I said, the sun or sunlight, etc. So it's a position that one occupies when one is qualified. So we have this 14 planetary systems. It is described in Vedic cosmology, and we are in the middle planetary system, which is Earth planet, and there are, say, 6 up and then 7 below. And the lower planetary system is when it's not very favorable for us. So higher planetary system means you enjoy there depending on your good karma, and if you have done bad karma, you go to the lower planetary system to suffer. So, and again, not necessarily all the lower planetary systems are bad, but generally it is. So when you're in the middle planetary system, that's where you get more opportunities to connect yourself to the Supreme Lord, or the Supreme Personality, or Supreme Power, whatever you want to call it. And how do we do that is this prescribed method, which is chanting of Maha Mantra. But when you're there, um, you need to have that knowledge, and not everyone gets it. And one who is fortunate, they will get this knowledge. And then when we apply that science of what we are doing, what we are studying is science of life, that we apply in our life, then it works, correct? So this is ancient science. It talks about the relationship between the soul, the supreme soul, and the material nature also. So Krishna is telling Arjuna is a disciple and also his cousin as well, and also devotee of Krishna. So he's telling, oh Arjuna, I've already spoken this Bhagavad Gita to sun god. His name is Vivashwan. It was millions of years ago. And Arjuna was wondering, how come you are my cousin and we are almost same age? And sun god is like, he is always there, right? And how come you spoke Bhagavad Gita to him? So, but Krishna is God, supreme God, as per this literature. So he is telling, like, so the 65 it's talking about here. So many births, Arjuna, you and I have passed. That means I also come. I also appear. I appear, but it looks like he's taking birth. But God never takes birth, right? He always exists. Even ourselves also, we always exist, but we only appear. We take birth in material body, but the soul, as a soul, the spirit soul, we always exist. So it's like we are jumping from one, like a monkey jumping from one tree to another, right? Like that, we are moving from one body to another based on our karma. We live in one particular body for a certain amount of lifetime, and then once the body is no longer in the livable condition, the soul leaves the body. That's what discussed in chapter 2. And then the soul leaves the body and then goes to the next body, so based on the karma. So we say destiny or karma, it's all same. So how do we change this karma is why we have to study Bhagavad Gita. So when we do keep reading this Bhagavad Gita, then we will understand and know, and also can apply how we can stop this cycle of birth and death, because we've been doing this for millions of years. And it is said there are 8.4 million species of living entities, not just humans, but also so many different kinds of humans, so many different kinds of beasts, birds, insects, reptiles, aquatics, like that. 900,000 kinds of aquatics, and 1.1 million types of birds and beasts, and 400,000 types of humans. So it is all written in a book called Srimad Bhagavatam. It has a 12 cantos. So it is said there as well. So we, from those books only, we know. How else we would know? We always think scientists are great and they know this, that, but yes, they know, but definitely better than us, but doesn't mean what they say are absolutely true, because their knowledge is very theoretical. based on assumption. But here what we study from this science is more on practical knowledge also, correct? So the science, material science, they don't trust until they see it, right? But for us, the spiritual science is different. Spiritual science is experimental and experiencing. Hmm? It's not just you just experiment and then go. No, you experiment and then understand and trust. You don't have to trust like by face value. You just try, experiment, and then apply, and then slowly you do repeat the process, and then you will experience the real truth, and then you will believe, right? And then you will pass the knowledge to others. That's how the disciplic section coming. That's what I am also doing, right? So I applied this science. I'm still applying. I'm trying to apply more and more also in my life, and then it is working. And then I'm trying to give this knowledge to others. I'm not doing this only for like for the last 12 months or something. This is what I've been doing for the last 8 years. So as soon as I picked up this this new level, I started to give this knowledge to others also, started to share this knowledge to my family members, my friends, and my neighbors, and whoever I know. And then I started my YouTube channel, and then started doing there also, and then like regular classes like this, and in my office also I do weekly. So why we do this? Because we know how blissful we are, how transformational this has done to our lives. So that's why we don't want it to let it pass, let it go. We wanted to give this and share this, my experience, to others, so the others also can be benefited, correct? So here Krishna was saying that Arjuna here looks like he didn't understand the position of Krishna. Krishna is supreme lord, even though he appeared as simple cowherd boy in this and that particular uh, lifetime, but he is supreme god, nonetheless, correct? And Arjuna, even though he knows he is Supreme Lord, but for the sake of the common men who would read Bhagavad Gita maybe 5,000, 10,000 years ago, they would not believe or understand. So that's why he is asking all the questions for the benefit of common men who is going to come and read, and then they can understand. Otherwise, they will have these questions, right? If Arjuna hasn't asked Krishna directly and Krishna hasn't directly answered, what will happen? This middlemen will give all their fishy-washy opinions and then will confuse people, right? So that's why already questions, correct questions correctly answered by perfect questions and perfect answers, that's why it's called. There is a book as well in the same website, you will see. So all the questions rightly asked at the right time, and then we are rightly answered by Krishna. So here Krishna is telling his birth is not like birth of you and me, because we don't have any control. Do you have any control on your birth? No. You just took birth in your family, and that was not your choice, even though it's a good family, or not so good family, I don't know. But for us, but I'm definitely hoping all of us have been born in a very good family. But what if it wasn't the case? Again, it was not in our control, correct? So we all take birth as per our destiny, that is karma. What we have done in our previous lives will decide which material body we will get. It could be an animal, it could be a horse. Horse is also an animal. So it could be a bird, or it could be a demon, it could be a snake, or it could be a human, or it could be superhuman also, like demigods, we would say, who is taking care of who live in higher planets and who takes care of the sun and moon and stuff like that, the material nature, the material elements. So, but Krishna is not like that. Krishna takes birth on his own will. He chooses who his parents should be, brothers should be, sisters should be, and which place he should be born. Everything he decides, and then he takes birth there, and then he performs his pastimes there. Why? He wanted to give that blissful experience, that blissful, that the joy and yeah, the experience, the realization to his devotees. So that's why he comes, and then he once he done his pastimes, he leaves. And it's not that it might appear like he is he has died or something, but no. Even us, the soul never dies. That's again we would have studied already, right, in second chapter. So soul never dies, only the material body dies. The soul within the material body doesn't die. So it just passes on to the next body, as I mentioned before. So this body, the material body, for Krishna, it's not material because it is spiritual. It's transcendental. For us, The soul is spiritual. uh, the size of the soul, it is mentioned, is 1 by 10,000th tip of the hair. If you take a hair and then the tip of the hair and then cut into 100 times pieces, cut into pieces like 100 pieces, and then take that one of those 100 pieces and then again cut into 100 times, then how tiny it would be, too tiny to measure. And you don't have any material equipment to measure that tiny, particle. So that is how tiny the soul is. That's why the science, material science, cannot see the soul. The soul, we know, if there is a man, right, the soul is inside because he's moving. There is a consciousness, right? He's moving, and even if he is in coma, we know there is a soul inside because there is heartbeat. But when there is no heartbeat, no movements, no whatsoever, no breath, what happens? What we check, check if he's still alive, and then he's no longer there. He means that soul is no longer in the body. That body is no longer called he or she. It will be called dead body, correct? So that is exactly what we studied in chapter 2. So, and for us, the soul, the spiritual soul is spirit, and the body is material made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. But for Krishna, the soul, the body, everything is spiritual. The mind, for us, mind, intelligence, all material only, correct? It's material, but it's subtle, subtle element. You can't see, it's experiencing only, right? So if if the scientist ask, I don't believe the soul because I can't see, then how we can ask, like, how do I know you are an intelligent doctor? I don't see your intelligence. Can we say that? Similarly, we believe that it's all by experiencing and realization. So Krishna is saying that many births I have, you and I have passed, and I can remember all of them, but you cannot. Hmm? And I am unborn. So Krishna is saying Aja in Sanskrit. There is language in India. It's called Sanskrit, and it's very Latin language, and that's the language used when this Bhagavad Gita was originally spoken. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So Krishna comes in his original transcendental form. So if you're wondering how Krishna looks like, this is Krishna. Here is blue in color. So this is him. So he has the peacock feather on his forehead as like a crown. So it's decorated, it decorates his head. Um, so this is Krishna as well. So this is his original form. So 3 bended forms. So this is how he usually stands. His favorite instruments is flute. He always plays nice flute. So although I am unborn, we already read that, yeah. So he appears every millennium. So that why he appears, he tells the reason in the next 2 verses. But the most important reason is to associate back with his devotees and to inspire the other eligible souls to go back to the spiritual kingdom, to the spiritual world, or go back to the Godhead, go back home, back to Godhead. So, text 7, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, so he is telling the reasons. Number 1 is whenever there is a decline in religious practice, and you can see people not following anything as per dharma. Dharma means religion, the dharma of the water. What is the duty of the water? To quench your thirst. And the state of the water is always liquid, right? These are the qualities. If it doesn't satisfy, then you no longer call that as water, correct? Similarly, what is dharma of you and me is to serve the Supreme Lord. Serving is our duty or dharma, right? But what happens is we choose to serve ourselves most of the time. We choose to serve our own senses, and we choose to serve our loved ones or extended relatives or immediate relatives or the society or the nation and the world, and become philanthropist, and etc. etc. And we think that is satisfying, but we do discover that still not satisfying. You can do a lot of volunteering work, and you can do a lot of giving, away stuff, and you can do a lot of good stuff. Okay, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm saying that you still find that still dissatisfying, and still you feel some emptiness in your heart. Still you're searching for something. What is that you're searching for? Hmm? We don't know. We are all searching for that happiness. We are all searching for that. We're all longing for that happiness, that's permanent happiness, but we are not getting it. We are getting temporary, a glimpse of happiness here and there, through our senses, through our loved ones, through society, through TV, through mobile phones, etc., etc. But we are still not getting that 100% happiness from something. What is that something that we are after? That is Krishna. We don't know that until um, we are awakened, right? That by that transcendental sound vibration, we wouldn't know that. We will believe that yes, we I will be happy when I have a bigger car or bigger better job or bigger house or second house. And then we will end up discovering that, oh, actually no, I need more of that. Maybe I need third car or third house or something, correct? So we are always dissatisfied. So that's why we need to understand what is the real happiness and where can we get it. And this book prescribes and suggests that this is where you can get it. That's what we are trying to follow, and it is working, and it has been working for me for 8 years. So it will continue to work because it's always worked, right, for millions of years. Why not now? So right. So next, so he mentioned that religious practice, whenever there is a decline, he'll appear. Okay. And then whenever there is a predominant rise of irreligion, not only decline in religion, but when there is an increase in religions also, I will appear. And text 8, to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants. Again, for two reasons. To deliver the pious, the people who are in good mode of goodness, and to annihilate the miscreants who are in the mode of ignorance. They are not following any religious principles. They are doing whatever they wanted to do. They're living their life, in their own way. So when we follow the regulative principles in the nice order, then we will feel that happiness and satisfaction coming. And then again, he says that I myself appear millennium after millennium. Okay. And text 9. I'll check which verse we stopped. Is it the eighth verse we stopped?
Yes, Mataji, we'll have to start from 9.
Okay. Oh, all right. Ninth verse. So this is here. It's Sanskrit, but it is written in English, so we can pronounce easily. So it's written here. They say Devanagari. So we can read this, but again, don't worry if you can't follow the pronunciation. So more important part is to have that realization and the acceptance and understanding. So it's not that as we read here, we don't have to become scholars. You see, we don't have to become big scholars. We don't have to become big superhuman or anything. We simply have to become a humble servant of Krishna. So Arjuna became servant of Krishna. That's how he became very submissive in hearing Bhagavad Gita. Some people would have this attitude and arrogant and asking a question even to the guru, not in a polite way, but in a challenging mood. Then the disciple will never understand and never get the answer he's after for his life. So that's why we always need to be humble when we receive knowledge from others. Okay. So the next verse, yeah, chapter 4, text 9. जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम् एवं ये वेत्ति तत्त्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति स अर्जुन. So translation is given. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So Krishna is telling, see, when we know who is the Lord, who is the Supreme Lord, what are his qualities, how does he look like, sometimes people think God is light, God is formless, like that. Like if you and I have a form, why can't the Supreme Lord can't have a form? Correct? But at the same time, he can be both form and formless. So if you want to worship the Lord through mountains, through water, through material nature, that's why there is Virat Roop. It is called Krishna appears in the form, universal form. So anyone want to worship him in that way, he allows them. But anyone wants to worship him as he is, he allows them also. In fact, he's more happy if if someone is inclined to know more about him and worship him as he is, then he gives them more and more the absolute truth, the knowledge of absolute truth. Mm. So here Krishna is saying that when we know his transcendental nature and his activities, how do we know all this? He says himself in this book. And also there is another book, as I mentioned, Srimad Bhagavatam. This is like a bachelor degree, and it's like a master's degree, the Bhagavatam book. So when we have that knowledge in Bhagavatam already, and when we hear from a person who read Bhagavatam, right, and they say this is where Krishna appeared, and this is how he looked, this is what he did when he was there, this is what he liked and don't like, doesn't like, then we understand from them that yes, these are the information. And what happens when we know all of those? Even if simply we know Krishna's body is not material like our body, he's fully spiritual, even if we know just that, and also know that his birth is not like our birth, it's very transcendental, that's it. If you know only that information itself, what happens? When we die, we don't take birth again in this material world. So why do we worry about taking birth or not taking birth? Because there are four permanent problems everyone face, common to all. Hmm? Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. This is in Sanskrit words. That means birth, death, old age, and disease. Okay. So when we have this problem, permanent problem, common to all, we cannot escape. Can we escape from birth? No. Can we our own birth? We can't, right? Giving birth to other, living entity, that maybe we have some control, but not full control, but some control. But our own birth, definitely not. And when we take birth, the beginning start, the problems begin, right? Like you first thing what you do, you cry when you come out of your mother's womb, you cry. And then there you go, that starts everything. Like you just cry for uh, dirty nappy, and then you cry for milk, and then you cry for toys, and you cry for this and that. Yes, of course, in the gap you will smile, you will be happy also. I'm not saying fully miserable. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, Krishna says that this material world is full of miseries. So we know from that it is full of miseries. And if you are getting happiness, means it's only temporary. And it comes and go, right? We are thinking, oh, I'm happy, everything is fine, and then there you go, something comes next day. So yeah, some people might not experience that immediately. They might be living happy life. That's because they're good karma, of course, but it doesn't guarantee, or it doesn't prove that yeah, everything is fully happy, joyful here in this material. No. So this disease come. We cannot escape from diseases, and I've been experiencing this myself. I have this rheumatoid arthritis for the last 15 years, right? 15, 16 years. So I know the sufferings that I have to go through, especially in winter times and etc. So regardless, we have to keep moving, right? So what we do is become optimistic rather than becoming spiritualistic. We become optimistic, thinking, "Oh, everything will be fine," and yeah, it will be fine. But the spiritual consciousness is what will give you the real bliss, right? So it's not that hope, the false hope after false hope. It's not taking us anywhere. It's just taking us to the another level of suffering only, correct? So when we understand this, these are the common problems, this birth, and then there is a death. You can't avoid death either. You can extend the period of when you're going to die if you're wealthy and if you have good medical facilities, yes. But still, see COVID, how many lives we lost in due to COVID, correct? So this is a very unfortunate situation. So a lot of people who lost their loved ones in India, who lost their eyes due to some side effects after the COVID, like a black fungus or something, lost their eyesight. This is a very sad situation the world is in right now, and it is said it's just coming back to us. Whatever we have done to this material nature, the Mother Earth, is just throwing back to us, and it has been patient for such a long time. Now it's coming back to us. Yeah, it is sad. But how do we keep the hope? Is only through spiritual process. Hmm? watching TV or swimming and riding bike, yes, it will help, but not fully. The consciousness is what bothering us, correct? So that is what we need purify. We need to purify. And so this birth, death, and then old age also, that we can't stop the old age. They have this Botox. What is that called? The skin upliftment. And then you have this surgery. A lot of things available. Why we want to look younger, and we have this skin treatment. And in Aldi also the rejuvenating creams available. We all want to look younger, want to look beautiful, want to live longer. See, naturally the soul is beautiful, fully aware of things, not fully knowledgeable, lives forever, right? And always young. See, that is why these are the qualities of soul, right? That is why, because we are naturally, we are souls, right? We are in this material body though. That's why we are expecting the same thing in the material body, but we are not getting that. So we became frustrated. We become angry, and then we become frustrated because of that. We are not able to achieve all those things. So why we want to always be happy? Why we don't want to be sad? Because the nature of the soul to be always blissful. Sat Chit Ananda. Ananda means blissful. Sat means eternal, always living. So that's why we can't handle if someone's dying, we can't handle when someone is dead, we can't handle that. And then over the time, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he gives us the knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. That's why we forget, we are able to forget some bad memories and then we move on, but still we have those memories somewhere in the back of the mind, right? When we lose our loved ones, it's sad. I lost my sister, first eldest sister, and she was 19 or 20 years old only that time, and I lost her. Mm. And she committed suicide, so that was even worse, right? If it is natural accident, that at least you can think, oh, that's a fate. Yeah, I understand. But this is something she created her own fate. That's even more unfortunate. So I have seen things in my life. That's why this process was so enlivening for me, and for my family members, because when we have seen those past um, things in the past, it was so heartbreaking and devastating things. So this is something like hope, real hope for our deliverance from this material world, right? So if you come back again in this material world, guess what will happen? This is what will happen: birth, death, old age, and disease. It repeats. And how do we get out of this process to totally follow the spiritual process, the practice? Okay, so this is what Krishna is saying here. So if we know who is Krishna and how his birth is, like whether it's transcendental or material like ours, then that's it. You're done. You don't have to come to the material world again. Okay. So you can read the purports also. So you can read through the purports, which is more interesting. The author, the commentator who gave the commentary, has compared. He wrote 50, 60 years ago. So at the time, regardless whether 5,000 years ago this book was written, the original book, and then 60 years ago translation done, doesn't matter. It still applies. It's still relevant to us. Okay, so that's the power and beauty of this literatures. So verse number 10. वीतराः भयक्रोधा मन्मया माम् उपाश्रितः बहवो ज्ञानतपसा भूता मद्भावम् आगताः. Translation: being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. Hmm? So, I'll just bring a book. Just think about any questions you might have. I'll just bring one book. Any questions so far? Okay, I'll take that as no. So my 7-year-old Vallabha, his name is Vallabha, my son, whenever he asks something, if I don't say anything, if it is favorable for him, he would say, I'll take that as yes. I wouldn't have said anything. And if it is favorable, if it's no is a favorable one, then he would say, I would take that as no. And then I would tell the opposite. Whatever he take it, I will tell the opposite. No, Vallabha. Like that. So yeah, like that. I'm taking that as yes. I mean, no, you don't have questions. All right. So what are the things covered in the purport? Mm. So raga. So there are few significant words in this verse, right here. So here Vita, Raga, Bhaya. So and Krodha. So Raga means attachment. So attachment to something, right? Attachment to our loved ones, attachment to our possessions, right? Material possessions or material designation. Bhaya. Bhaya means the fear of anything. As I mentioned before, fear of losing loved ones, or fear of losing our own life, or fear of losing job, or fear of losing this, that, etc. Krodha means anger. Hmm? So these are some mm, impurities that we have to face in our life. So that manifest and unmanifest sometimes, correct? So controlling them is an art. mm, Controlling the anger. And it is said, one doctor was saying this, when you become angry, say for 8 seconds only, right? So but it will last for 8 hours. The chemical hormones, whatever the chemical is produced in the body when you become angry, it's not nice chemicals though, very toxic chemicals. It's produced when you're agitated, right? And it will, to leave from your system, it takes 8 hours. You only became angry for 8 seconds, but the effect to leave that body took 8 hours, takes 8 hours. So then imagine, i would I would get angry and stay angry for like, say, 2 minutes or 5 minutes. Then the effect, how long it will stay in my body, would be longer, much longer, right? So this is bad. So the doctor was saying that, so don't be angry. So that was his suggestion. But from this, but how is what we have to practice, this Maha Mantra meditation, slowly slowly we also can control the anger. And Bhaya, we covered that, and Krodha, angry, yes. And how do we, what is the solution that is discussed in the purport as well, which we already discussed it. So follow the regulative principles of devotional life. Do the right thing. Do what is right. So how do we know? By studying Bhagavad Gita continuously, consistently, and take complete shelter of the Supreme Lord. Under the spiritual master's guidance. Again, whenever, second chapter it says, whenever you are in this dilemma, you don't know what to do, not to do, etc., you need Guru. When you are confused, you need Guru. Not any Guru, bona fide Guru. Bona fide Guru who has seen the truth, who has realization. There is Jnana and Vijnana. Jnana means knowledge. Vijnana means applied knowledge, or the realization. So we need to get the knowledge from Vijnani. So that knowledge, the person, the possessor of that knowledge, who experienced that knowledge or realized that knowledge. So we need to get that knowledge from them so that we know. So if I have been to America, you have not been, then you ask me how do you go to America and what you see there, who is the president, whatever. And then I can tell because I've been there and I can tell. But if I haven't been there, you are asking me, what can I tell? I can only assume and tell, but that's not going to help you really, right? So if I have been there, I can tell you more. More. I can give you more knowledge about it. That's why we have to get the knowledge from Tattva Vidi Tatvidi Pranipatena Praniprashnena Seveya Abhayati Trejnana Jnanavan. I forgot that text, but it is said that who has seen the truth? Get the knowledge from who has seen the truth. Okay. And then it also talks about science of devotional service. So that is called Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So if we need to be freed from these material diseases like raga, bhaya, krodha, it is attachment, fear, and anger, we need to follow the science of devotional service, that is Bhakti Yoga. When we follow Bhakti Yoga, what is Bhakti Yoga? Simply chanting this Mahamantra, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, remembering the Supreme Lord. You connect the self to the Supreme Lord. It happens automatically. But again, when you have that interest, right, that if you're inclined to do that from the heart, you will see the connection. And then what happens though over the time, the guidance, because it is said that super soul, because we are souls and we have super soul within our heart, every living entity, not just human beings but also the ants and dinosaurs and elephants, every living entity, the soul, the size of the soul for every living entity is the same, regardless. This is the beauty again, right? Regardless whether one is in the elephant body or in an ant's body or in a human body, the size of the soul the same. Okay, the qualities are the same. It's just the material body who, what material body, what manifests this power, strength, and beauty, and everything, correct? But the soul, the size of the soul, the nature of the soul is always same for every living entity. So Krishna, when he created everything equally only, right? And again, creation, like souls not created, souls always existed. So it's not that souls created at one stage, no. That's what Krishna says, you and I exist always. All Ashoshian Anva Soshastvam Pragnya Vadam Sa Bhashase Ahatum Kadashum Ahatashumsha Na Soshanti Pandidaha. So Pandidaha means learned. So one who has learned that will not lament. What he will not lament about is that always you existed, I existed. The kings in the battlefield, you see them, right? They also existed. It's just the material body they are changing, but otherwise they always existed. That's what Krishna is saying. So when we when we practice this process of Bhakti Yoga, which is chanting, remembering, that's it, and hearing, simple process. There are different processes also, but if we do just these three, more than enough. Chanting and hearing, we can do at the same time, correct? Remembering, while we are chanting and hearing, we can remember the Lord, correct? We can look at his pictures, we can just remember the past times if we know, and then we can hear more, right, from someone who knows or read, and that's it. We are done for the life and we don't have to come back again. We can go back to the spiritual world, right? So these are the things that is said in the shastras is nothing but this, the Vedic literatures, and we are trying to imbibe that knowledge in our lives, day-to-day lives, and it has been working and it will work, right, regardless of our conditioning. But all we need to do is desire and just apply the knowledge, that's all. So I stop here. So for next week we will do from 11th verse. And also other thing I want to tell you is next couple of weeks I might have some training until 5 o'clock. That means the classes will be from 6 to 7. I hope I stay fresh after the long training for the day on Sunday next week and the following week. Otherwise I will text you that if I'm not running the class, but I'm hoping I'll be fine. So it will be 6 to 7 instead. And if 6 to 7 works for us in the next couple of weeks, then what we can do is we can make the regular classes as 6 to 7. Does anyone have objection of timing 6 to 7? So,
Mataji.
no?
No, no. We are okay. I'm
No,
okay with it.
Mataji.